We are getting closer to a weekly close for the crypto market. And assets, including Bitcoin, are showing you this particular pattern where you actually get a long wick candle and then the last candle, which we are going to close in 24 hours, is showing you an inverted hammer. In this market, when you actually get this, traders look for bulls. Bulls are entering the market. So you look at the examples, you go look at price history patterns, and you're like, okay, I'm getting some kind of bullish momentum back in the market. And why this actually matters? Because at the same time, you get a lot of other indicators suggesting that you are going to go bullish. Now, there will be confusions, but if you look closely, you can observe some key patterns. Whenever this happens, this is going to run. So when the 21-day moving average is going to close to the downside crossing the 100-day moving average, usually we go, okay, that's a death cross. But if you look at the price history, the pattern here, you're kind of clear like, okay, there is a lot of different patterns happening right now. And if you take note of these, you're like, okay, last time it crossed to the upside, we came to the downside. Or last time when we crossed to the upside, we already made the top. So this time, when you're crossing to the downside, it definitely looks like you have made the bottom. This is XRP chart on a weekly, right? So you get that narrative. Now you want to know how it looks if you zoom in a bit, right? So you take a step in and look what the market is showing you. And it again gives you indicators, right? So once you are zooming in to look like what is happening in the entire market, you're like, okay, the market entirely is giving you some momentum, right? So as you actually go forward and look at different assets, say even the node projects, some of them are trying to come back and retest this range. We broke this level of 4.5. Now we're going back to retest that range. If you're able to get back into this asset class is actually getting attention. Now, fundamentally speaking, if you are looking at there are some bad news, but not everything is actually a bad news. And we are going to cover all of them with the price and discuss through this, because this is like, okay, you get negative news in a perspective laid out like this. And at the other time, you're looking at the other side of this and you're like, okay, regulations are coming in. Governments and central banks are looking at this crazy. But those with utility, especially the payments, that's getting stronger. Now, even if they're entering on to Bitcoin and others saying, okay, we are going to use this for payments, once they are on, they will understand it's a pain in the ass because it's really hard to get onto, right? So now, if you are looking at this, yes, the wealth disruption is happening right now. If you want to take part in this, most likely you are already inside this if you're watching this video. Why? Majority of the world don't even know about crypto and you are here, right? Which means most likely you're going to be that top 10%. Most likely, if you have more patience, you're going to become the top 1%. But yes, the level of patience you need for that is going to be huge. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. So if we look at the current affairs right now, yes, we are getting some negative vibes in the market, people going scamming. You have to be willing to understand that there is nothing free. If people are offering you free airdrops and all, you need to be actually cautious. Look what they are doing, why they are doing, and before you even give your address getting connected, think twice and make sure you're on the right path. Yes, these are there, and that's one of the reasons why you actually see regulators coming on board, trying to press all these kind of stuff. Now, when we actually look at all this, it really also shows us some important key factors. See, governments are actually entering into this at a time when they actually are preparing for a new payment system. Now, it's not just one country, right? Here you can literally see India, China, Russia, Pakistan. All of them are actually on board with this particular idea. And as it actually moves forward, payments is going to be an interesting space. Now we all know what's happening with XRP and Ripple, the company, and this lawsuit. But shout out to Stefan to actually put this one out. I'm like, okay, this, if you listen, you're like, okay, fine. Yeah, even this guy actually understand this, and he was openly accepting that way back. But right now, he'll be like, no, that's not me. That's someone else, right? That kind of stuff is literally happening. But fund managers who are allocating money for investors, big investors, they are actually looking on these. Why? If you look at Cardano, Polkadot, XRP and XRP Ledger, and all these projects and protocols, what they are doing, you now understand, okay, they are moving on for the fundamental coins, right? So large investors managing approximately 200 billion worth of assets, right? So you need to actually look at this and ask the same question for yourself. When you actually ask the same question, like, okay, if those big guys are actually moving out towards different assets, you're like, okay, what is the issue with asset A and what are the issues with asset B, because they are moving out, right? Now, when you look at this, you're like, okay, they were all on Ethereum, and as they were all on there, now they are moving out. And when they are moving out to projects like these, which has a strong fundamental base and adoption. So now, as you read through this, it's like, found that positions on Bitcoin have changed little, as investors are increasingly adding to all coins. It found that little over 20% of the investors allocated to Ethereum, down from around 25%. So now people are getting to understand, okay, there are some issues. We may have even better opportunity in other assets. And then you go read continuously. It saw investors allocating funds to Cardano more than double, from 5 to 12. Why? The price actually dropped massively, right? And then you're looking at this. Those allocating to XRP rise from 4 to 6%. Now, it's not a huge increase, but it's still 50% increase. That is not that small too. Similarly, for those who are looking at DOT, increased from 9 to 13. Once the price actually moves, that's when you actually see a lot of people coming in. Right now, these are the early guys understanding, okay, this particular asset is bottoming. This is going to go back to the upside. Now, fine. You just go into the charts on a weekly, daily, whatever you want. And then look at, say, for example, let's look at the three assets which they just talked about. So one, Cardano. What is Cardano doing right now? It's inside a pattern where it is close to the support and showing you what? Inverted hammer. And if we close this week like this is the exact same pattern we just talked about for XRP. Now you get this and you're showing an inverted hammer. So people are entering Cardano, people are entering XRP. So in both of these assets, you right now have similar pattern. So price action in the candles are showing you they are entering there for a reason. Now the next one is actually Polkadot. So once you go into the weekly chart of DOT, say let's clear all this, and then look at this. You do have a similar perspective here with a long hammer pattern where the lower shadow extends to 7.4, but the sellers were not able to keep that pressure to the downside. Buyers came back and pushed up. Now, what is the good news here in this chart? It actually doesn't actually show you the inverted hammer here. Rather, it is still showing the strength of sellers overweighs buyers. But right now, this is the good news. The volume from the selling side is reducing. If we manage to close with this, most likely buyers are going to perform well. So if you ask me on a weekly chart pattern, okay, they are entering into these three assets fundamentally and technically, okay, yeah, fine. But right now, Cardano and XRP looks a better option than this, unless there is going to be a macro bull entering and changing the price structure. This is a daily chart, right? So now you're like, okay, the entire altcoin space is on this level. It's been consolidating here from 469 days. That's not a short period. You go back in time and look what we've talked about here. We've talked about this one before. You go above the all-time highs, you stay there for some time. Now, last time it was not 469 days. If you actually calculate it properly, it was like 360, 365 days. Now, this time it's 469 days. So after that 360 days, you knew what was coming and you waited. If that was you, then you literally participated in this bull run, massive run up. And if you are here right now observing this pattern, seeing this, the price is testing the all-time highs and getting supported. Whenever you come back that low, people are buying it and pushing it back up. Right now, when you see this pattern, it happens to be a bullish pattern. You go back up. Now, it wasn't huge here because the market was still bearish. We were going corrected, right? The corrective momentum was still there. But right now, you look at these and you're like, okay, this is Bitcoin on a weekly. Last time you crossed to the downside here, that was a capitulation. But as you crossed, you reached the bottom already. Next time, you're crossing to the upside. But by the time you actually cross to the upside, you actually got the top. You're going back downside. So now when you actually cross this to the downside, most likely the market actually shows you the probability that it's going to go back higher. Now, if you learn something from the chart and history, that most likely works. And when the market shows you this kind of stuff, I know when you go into the YouTube space, crypto Twitter, you get different opinion, right? Some are saying it's going to be a bull market from here. Some are suggesting it's going to be a bear market from here. Now, finally, it's you who has to make that decision. So I suggest before you actually take any important decision for your portfolio, your money, look at the market yourself. Look at like, okay, what it did previously. This is XRP on a 3-day. You crossed to the upside, but you already had the top there. You crossed to the upside, but you already made the top there. So now if you are looking at these, there are some times. So you are looking at the odds for all these assets and you're like, okay, the 100-day moving average and 21-day moving average is now so wide. Whenever that happens, whether it's on the upside or to the downside, price come back correcting. Now here, it's the opposite. So the price should actually go back. So your resistance level should be 0.7, close to that. Now you do have the horizontal level at 0.6, but you have that open space 0.6 to 0.7 to rally. Why? Your MACD suggests it's bottoming, and whenever it crosses back to the upside, you usually get a rally. If the RSI is also at the bottom. So these are like the scenarios which I've highlighted. MACD is crossing higher, RSI is at a support and bouncing. So right now you have both of that playing out at a time when the moving average is so widened and the price is making a pattern in a reversal on a weekly. So now, okay, fine. You go in, you zoom in for a 4-hour chart and you're like, okay, I'm getting the MACD turning slightly bullish. RSI showing I need to break higher, but I'm not that bullish. And the price is still here. So short term, if you're trying to trade the market, you should not use leverage in my opinion, because if you do and the market decides to be volatile for some hours, that's a done, right? You kind of get wiped out. Your money is gone. So you really don't want that to happen when the market in next 2 months, 3 months is going to go back higher. Because if you manage to get this vibe here, you're getting the positive stuff here, and at the bottom you're getting green volume. Green volume with a bullish pattern is great for the market if you do understand that correctly, right? You go and see when it was the opposite scenario, you were getting this inverted hammer at the top and the price went lower. Now you go look at these patterns which we just discussed and understand this. When you get the same at the top, yes, it's a shooting star, you're going to go back. You're getting that at the bottom, it's an inverted hammer and you're going to go back up. The trend just reverses there. Now, if you get this perspective right and you're like, okay, I understand that the market is about to reverse and the market may actually give me some opportunities to use. Now you're like, okay, fine. Market is now like $1.28 trillion. Now I'm like, okay, this market cap can even go to $15-20 trillion. And don't go nuts. Don't go nuts. Just listen. Market cap is just a number, and not all of these people actually understand that, because what they want It's just a lot of subscribers and viewers, not you knowing the truth. Just common sense. If you have even food 2 times a day, it's fine. Just give me 30 seconds to explain this. Say XRP. How much do you have in supply, which is considered in the market? Say 43 billion. Fine. The rest is an escrow. Agreed. But is your XRP in the market? Mine is not. And I think most of us would have it in a ledger. So it's not in the circulating supply in the market. So now the market cap is decided by the price and the total supply, which they consider is the circulating supply. And they just multiply this to get the market cap. So literally for all of these big institutions who are buying, it's not in the exchanges, it's outside. They moved it outside to their storage. So you don't really need $20 trillion to come in to push the market cap of crypto to go to 20 trillion. You literally need $3 to $5 trillion. Look at how much governments printed last 3 years. That's $35 trillion. So even 10% of that coming into the crypto market means we are gonna fly. And some of these assets, which we had the breakout calls and they are already breaking higher and moving higher, as you can see here, market does show there are a lot of coins which are getting attention, and on the other side there are a lot of coins which people are slowly moving out of. Right now, it's the question would be, last 24 hours, okay, there can be a lot of shift. Like a short term market is kind of a voting machine, whereas long term it's a weighing machine. So you understand these and you're like, okay, fine, I kind of get some idea. The market is showing me that it is slowly turning positive. You go look at volume, because volume is an important factor to understand when the volume is increasing and when the volume is decreasing. So now if you are in the top 100 assets and you're looking at the volume, you're like, okay, Tether right now shows only 29 billion. It used to be 50, 60. So the volume in Tether is low. The volume in Bitcoin, the volume in Ether, they are now running low. Now we are going lower to look at XRP, and I'm surprised to see that the volume is lower. But when the volume is low, the market activity is low, the buying and selling. So at that point, okay, imagine like, you have 10 versus 10 people playing out, and both of them reducing. So if suddenly at one point it's like 2 versus 2, another guy comes in for one side and it pushes to the upside. So right now when the volume is low, you don't really need a huge amount of buyers to come and push the market up. You only need a little bit more to push the market up. So on the volume side of it, when you are looking, say, for XRP, you're already a little bit high in sale. Fine. So you need some buyers coming in, and you observe that, okay, the market is like, okay, there is a lot of people moving out of USDT. Fine. That's a stable coin. And you see the opposite here in USDC. People are going there. So some of them, when they are moving out, they are literally moving into assets, and others are moving into stable coin. So that big of a sell for USDT to billion to move into different assets shows why there is no volume right now, and people are going to move on to that. So guys, if you do understand these patterns, you do find this video valuable, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want these kind of updates for your portfolio on the time when we see this, to prepare for the run to the upside, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where you get a lot of value for your portfolio. If you have 10, 15, 20 assets and you really know which asset is going to outperform others with the probabilities and what your targets are going to be, you can take a look there. Guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.